I think that this article came off as someone that is an extreme lover of rap, and the whole idea of hip hop saved my life because it put me into this mind state. You know, it made me get more into political ideas and that type of thing.
Open up doors.
When he's tracing the lines of how hip hop got to where it is now,
Dead End Hip Hop Conversations, man. We're here with the whole crew. Modest, Beezy, Mr. Kendrick Lamar, C-Town. The whole crew is in here. And today we're talking about a article that was written on Politico.com by Kevin Powell. And
The great Kevin Powell.
Yeah. First time I've heard him by name, you know.
Damn.
So I don't know how great he is.
very
honestly.
great.
Yeah.
What makes him great, Beezy?
I'm kind of the same as Myke, like just the way he always see things just from a black male perspective. Like I think he's just like his thoughts. Like I don't know if you, and I don't think you probably watched Real World like back the first season of Real World.
did.
But like you did?
Yeah, Hawaii.
He was
No, that's not Hawaii. I'm talking about
Hawaii,
the very
it was in
first
New York.
season. That was like season 8.
What the hell?
Right.
Hawaii?
Yeah, he was in the very first Real World, bro. 91 and 91, 92.
He did sound confident. Yeah, Hawaii, man. He had pineapples, all types of shit.
Right.
He was like the first like voice like his that I ever saw on TV. And I think I've mentioned him on here before, but I am a huge fan of Kevin Powell.
Yeah,
he was one of the first people that I really listened to that was breaking down these racial dynamic ideas on a grand scale. He was doing it on the fucking Real World.
Yep.
And he was young. And the shit that he was saying, people are catching up to now.
So essentially, this article, and obviously I'm paraphrasing and going all the way down to where the meat and potatoes is of the articles, where hip hop isn't where it once was in terms of being the voice of the people that are stuck behind all of these walls and all of these barricades that America has put us behind, right? We are at this point in hip hop glorifying the drugs, the sex, the materialism, but hip hop at once upon a time was definitely, you know, fuck the police. It was anti-government. It was stand for what made us who we are as a community, and it's no longer that. And I think he did an amazing job in the article. How do y'all feel about, I guess, where hip hop is and the message that hip hop, you know, gives to the young audience that listens to it?
To me, the takeaway, the big takeaway was when he was just basically just like, look, it's just a fucking minstrel show. And I was like, damn. Like, I had to sit with that. And what I liked is how he established everything in the beginning, and he laid everything out. He went back in time and he started just kind of painting and positioning and
everything, like almost like year by year, but it wasn't year by year, but it was kind of like he was going year by year.
Yeah, man, it was like the way he built this thing up just to get to that one thing where you just like, boom, all of that stuff that we did, everything that we were doing, this moment with Tupac led to this moment right here where hip hop, after 50 years, has turned into a minstrel show.
Coming from, I guess, someone that's probably born, that grew, not talking about me, but someone that grew up like in the West Coast. Would you think like he was kind of dissing the West Coast a little bit? Just from how he's saying, like from the Chronic. How you remember how you mentioned like the Chronic, like kind of kickstart the, like where we almost kind of at right now?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It almost did feel like Chronic was like the start of it in the sense that it was the big album that got the most attention because of Dr. Dre, because you still had other gangster rappers that were out from Philly.
Schoolie D.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it still was there, but that was still like in hip hop's like
Ice-T and stuff.
Yeah. Not formative years, but it was still very much.
But he pinned it like the Chronic was kind of like
the Chronic stood out.
It didn't sound like a diss though.
Yeah, it sounded like a diss.
Not to me at least.
Yeah, I mean, and it, maybe I'm just exaggerating, but it was just like,
I don't think you're exaggerating. I think I kind of.
It's like everything was great when it was New York, but then it was like soon. I don't know. That's
I didn't take it
you
that
don't
way.
think so?
I think he was just trying to find a line of demarcation to show people, okay, like.
But he used a West Coast album though.
But it was one of the biggest albums that came out in that time. And
Yeah.
I didn't take it at all like he was dissing the West Coast. I think that this article came off as someone that is an extreme lover of rap, and the whole idea of hip hop saved my life because it put me into this mind state. You know, it made me get more into political ideas and that type of thing.
Open up doors
when he's
for him.
tracing the lines of how hip hop got to where it is now. Yeah, the Chronic would have to be in there, but I don't think that counts as like him saying, "Oh, the Chronic is whack, shouldn't have been made."
Yeah.
Not whack, you know, shouldn't have been made, or the Chronic is the beginning of the downfall.
Yeah.
I think he's just making like Feefo said, a clear line of how things got to where they are now.
That's true. Because he did make reference to Arrested Development album that came out the
That
same
came out
year.
the same
that
year.
sold 4 million. So
Right.
That's
And
Well, but that was to point out like that there were positive albums selling, because I think it was right along the lines we was pointing out what that person told to Tupac, right?
yeah, with the
Yeah.
exec,
Yeah.
with the exec told you.
Right.
About
So he was
socially conscious music.
exactly. It was like, but that's not true because of Arrested Development sold
Right.
4 mil.
Yeah.
And then you have the Chronic that came out and went crazy as well. But you have two of these two types of music, two styles of music, and he mentioned balance towards the end,
Right.
where both were selling, but somehow, some way, the industry decided to shift and focus more on the Chronic,
Right.
even though Arrested Development was selling more, just as much. Or
But he
4
also
million.
made note somewhere in the article where he was talking about how these types of institutions would kind of push or would want to push black people towards this type of music.
Yeah.
I don't think that's dissing the Chronic. It's more so just saying what the industry was wanting us to be a part of or wanting us to pay attention to.
It was an example of that type of music selling that type of that much money, that show that type of music can generate a profit, even though the other did. But we want to push them towards this more negative type of music, right?
Right,
Yeah.
but I don't think that's a diss, because I mean, as much as I love the Chronic, I'd be lying and we'd be fools to say it wasn't pushing out negative.
Oh yeah, it was.
That's all
It
he's
was,
saying.
yeah.
That's why I don't think it was him saying necessarily anything bad or attacking the West or the Chronic. It's him pointing out the reality, which was that yes, you had Arrested Development that was talking about social issues, cultural issues, and then you had the Chronic that was talking about weed, bitches, and
shit.
you know, all sluts and shit. I think he made a really, really good argument here without just sounding like an old head. Because if I read this from somebody else, I'd be like, man, this is just some old head fucking complaining. But when you really dig down deep, he's saying truths.
Yeah.
He's not lying in this article.
And here's the thing about business, right? Like, you have a product that's been selling, right? And we want to introduce another product into the game and be like, well, can it outsell or can it even compete? And when the Chronic came out, it competed. So now these people that have agendas and that control the industry say, well, you know what? We don't even want this because we don't want to empower you motherfuckers. We want you to fall in line and over here
Right.
because we can control this.
That sounds like what his point was.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So there is no shots to the West. It's just saying that this introduced to the game that the shit that does happen in the hood, that a lot of people, you know, grow up poor and all of that type of stuff. Let's push this on them. Let's continue to push this narrative and let's not help them empower themselves.
An article like this could have easily went the wrong way. When I first saw this article pop up, I didn't know Kevin Powell wrote it, and I hadn't even read any of it. And I would, if I saw this title, I'd be like, I'm good. I'm good, because it's just gonna be some fucking 62-year-old dude crying because we ain't making Earth, Wind, and Fire albums no more.
Right.
But when I saw Kevin Powell was attached, and I read it literally an hour before you sent that text.
Oh wow.
And I was like, oh shit, Kevin Powell wrote, let me go check this out. And I was like, wow, everything he's saying, I agree with. It's just a matter of, in my opinion, I don't say it because it's just like, who's gonna listen?
Yeah, that's
but
what made me want
it
to
just
read
sounded like an impassioned hip hop fan that's just tired of, you know,
The Minstrel show.
music that he loves not being empowering anymore.
Yeah.
Halfway through, I was like, oh, the kids are gonna fucking, man, what about Kendrick?
And
then the next
and he
paragraph,
slick- he
he
slick-
brings up Kendrick,
Yep.
but he's like, look, this is basically an anomaly right now. It's not. He's not even saying that socially conscious artists don't exist. He's saying they're not being pushed, which means if they're not getting pushed, they're not getting to younger people.
Yep.
Younger people probably aren't hearing this shit.
Yep.
he's not lying.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Kendrick going back to the rest of development, I mean, Kendrick is selling. Kendrick is popular. So it shows that there is profit in that style of music.
Yeah.
J. Cole is too.
J.
To
Cole,
this day.
yeah.
But those are two
Outliers.
artists in a huge bucket of the other stuff. And I'm not even dissing. I don't even think he's dissing the other shit. He's just saying like it's only this right now.
Yeah.
There's not enough of this other shit.
You don't think it was a diss to some of the other stuff by calling it minstrel?
Well, the minstrel show comment, yeah, but I mean that could apply all the way back to the mid 90s.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think he was making salient points without pointing too many fingers. But also, I do think that fingers do sometimes need to be pointed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and as long as it's one of us pointing it at each other, you know, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah.
You know, when I saw the title, and I get the name of the person that sent it to me on Twitter. That's how I came across my radar, and I clicked on it. Then I saw like that subtitle. We said it's a minstrel show. I was like, shit. I mean, that shit hit me. I was like,
Really?
what the fuck?
I feel like we've said that before.
Yeah.
You know what?
Remember? Well, I don't want us to call him. No, go ahead. Go ahead. I don't want to say no names.
If any, I probably have said it before, but
Not in those words, but you.
No, I feel like we've said it in those words.
Minstrel show.
Yes.
Literally, I don't remember.
There
us
was an
using
artist
word.
that was dancing on a table in front of a bunch of white
remember.
execs, and I'm pretty sure the phrase minstrel show was brought up because that's how it felt.
Yeah, I've said a lot
talked
of
about
And that's not a diss to the artist. It's just like this is what it looks like.
You know, he was pointing out how that's harmful, how that period was very harmful to black people because of the negative stereotypes that it was projecting and portraying. You read the book Tom's Coons Mulattoes. And I can't remember the full title.
Yeah.
But I remember reading about that part, you know, how white America at the time, that were really the only jobs they were allowing them to do.
Yep.
And it was interesting how the writer was saying, yeah, that was the only jobs they were getting, but they did a hell of a job doing it and waiting for the moments to come where they could start kind of turning
out
in society. Right.
Killing the stereotypes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I couldn't help but think of that where they had no choice but to do that.
Yeah.
And, you know, compare it to now where you have a choice. And that's why that line kind of stood out to me, because it was like, now you have freedom of movement. You don't have to do this stuff now more so than ever because of the independence and the
social media and all that
social
stuff,
media
yeah.
and trend and stuff. You disagree?
I think that it's easier said than done. I
Okay.
think that it's a lot easier to say you have freedom of movement than for the people that are involved in the industry to actually see it themselves. You know, like this is a mind state that they've been put into that's going to take a long time to break. And just someone saying, well, you don't have to do this. Nah, but I got to make money. And especially if you have an exec saying, nah, we're not trying to hear this. Where's the ratchet shit?
Yeah.
Where's the titties?
Yeah.
It's hard to them to be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go and make empowering music as opposed to make the shit that's been bringing me checks.
Right, or you only see one path to the bag, so to speak. Yeah, so and then you have well, that was all.
No, you old saying some new shit.
That's what everybody say.
I know, but
Not
you
everybody.
old.
But nah, man, I think it was also interesting because he brought up Jay and 50 and how they were able to, you know, become extremely successful, but it's almost like they left everyone behind. And if you look at 50's programming, it kind of also reinforces a lot of those ideas as well, and it was extremely popular.
Yep.
You know, the drug game and stuff like that. So he was killing it, bro.
He really was.
Like, shit.
You can have an emotional response to this and say this is stupid, this is bullshit. You can't have a logical response.
You can't.
That's against what he's saying. He's saying the truth. It's just a truth that people don't want to listen to or don't want to hear.
Yeah.
And I get why they don't want to hear it, because they feel like their favorite thing is being attacked. Well, I mean, maybe it is.
What audience in hip hop do you feel doesn't want to hear it? Do you think it's our age group? Do you think it's the youngins?
I think it's younger people don't want to hear this. Why would they? People Isaiah's age, they're not gonna want to hear this shit. because this is what they've grown up with. They've grown up with, you know, the I don't want to call it negative, but you know, they've grown up with the more ignorant style of hip hop. They've grown up with that. So for someone that's older than us to come out and be like, hey, hip hop used to be this, and hip hop inspired activists like me, inspired, you know, politicians, inspired all of these people to try to make changes, but y'all's era of music isn't doing that right now. Yeah, younger people aren't going to hear that. They're not.
Yeah, I mean, we get called heads all the time. I know.
For saying the same type of thing.
Yeah. So there's some truth in that.
Hip hop independency being arguably at an all-time high, right? Like in terms of being able to control your digital footprint, being able to market and promote yourself, being able to create a fan base without the push of the machine, right? Obviously, the push of the machine is tremendous, but do you think that it is possible for a younger artist to be on that conscious activist wave but be cool at the same time?
Kendrick.
But Kendrick is
young anymore.
Exactly.
I'm just saying, but he was like that was.
We
like,
understand
now.
Yeah.
I'm talking about now.
You saying? Oh, you are
exactly
saying now.
because Kendrick is starting to age out of the quote unquote young people.
Yes.
Kendrick is mid-30s going into his 40s, bro. And listen to his last album. It was extremely personal and therapeutic. A lot of 18-year-olds can't like relate to all of the shit that Kendrick's saying. Some of it, yes, still. Because Kendrick still is young in spirit. But all of that stuff, that was very heavy.
Not even most
of it. Because I feel like somebody that does a really good job of bringing light to a lot of the things in this article, No Name. I would consider No Name conscious.
Well, but I think if you look at some of the artists, you know, they only get so far.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too.
Yeah, so if you know, so I'm sitting here thinking about the freedom of movement thing that I put out there, the idea of that, and I'm questioning myself, like, is that just an illusion? You know, and that you think that you can do this, but the industry, their tentacles are so ingrained into the system that they could suppress that sort of music from getting on those playlists that everybody consume to look for the next hottest thing, and they just continue to push the stuff that is negative, that is ratchet, that to the audience that consumes hip hop. Can that person come out and create that type of music? If Kendrick was to come out today, would they allow that artist to get to the levels that Kendrick reached?
Yes.
You know,
I think so.
I was gonna say I don't see why not.
Why do you think so?
Because I think when you said, can a young artist come out and make, I'm paraphrasing, make socially conscious music that still is cool, right? I think that one artist probably can't, but 3, 4, 5, 6 artists can. I think that's what it's gonna take. If one artist keeps doing it, then people are gonna be like, that's corny. That's corny. That's corny.
But if it's a wave.
If it's a wave, right. If it's like this artist comes out, he doesn't really perform that well, but another artist sees it and is like, well, I can probably do that and try to make it a little bit cooler. He performs a little bit better than this artist, That's what it's gonna take. Otherwise, you're always gonna be stuck in this cycle of, you have a whole bunch of ratchet shit, then you have J. Cole and Kendrick.
What do y'all think about like the ringtone era? Because we didn't particularly like the ringtone era, but it wasn't necessarily a negative thing. It was just like a fun thing. It was a thing that an era of, these kids that just want to have fun. It wasn't even like talking about. It was very popular on the radio. It wasn't talking about all the negative things. So what do we think about that era?
I don't think it really fits into what Kevin Powell was talking about.
I understand it doesn't. Wait. What you mean?
Because he was talking about the rappers that are talking about or putting out negative stereotypes. He's not. I mean, if Ringtone wasn't doing that, then it doesn't really matter.
I guess why wasn't that highlight? I'm not saying that I'm against what he's saying in this, because I think it's very on point, like we're saying here. But I'm just thinking about, like, I do think there was another renaissance of rap era in those early 2000s, whatever.
And he talked about it.
Drop Hip Hop is Dead too,
and that's what I mean. And then you had the old heads come back in saying, "Well, hip hop is dead because all y'all doing is talking about party shit."
Well, he high level talked about, hip hop has always been a young person party type of music.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when you talk about ringtone era, I think just happy-go-lucky,
Soulja Boy, that's when
Soulja
Soulja
Boy,
Boy
hit
Yeah,
Superman.
that's what I'm talking about.
So
Bow Wow.
Bow Wow.
yeah,
But what's your actual?
My,
I'm trying to make sure I understand what your question is.
well, my question is like, because we were talking about Minstrel show. Well, you had mentioned Minstrel show. Do we consider that Minstrel show as well? If it's just like kids that just want to have fun with rap?
I didn't look at that era as a minstrel show because of the party aspect, and we were starting to, and this wasn't even like all that new, but like hip hop acts were creating dances to their songs. Like to me, that's not minstrel showy. To me,
It's minstrel-ish.
You also
It's
had to start,
minstrelly adjacent.
you also had to start a trap music too, though. Around
we
that
did.
time.
But so Kid and Play was minstrelly then?
No, that was different.
Well, that's
How was
he
that
already
different?
highlighted it. I mean, we're not
Y'all are going a totally different direction, by the way.
Point,
Better not be
though.
calling kid play no motherfucking minstrels, bro. We
ain't gonna hurt nobody.
I'm trying to ask.
Ain't gonna hurt
because Play will drive up here right now.
You ain't lying, but I'm saying, what's the difference between them and
Was Kid
Soulja
and
Boy
Play
doing
calling
the
people hoes in
Superman?
their song?
That's the point. That's what I'm saying. What Ken just said. That's what we need
what
to
Ken
get
say?
back to.
What Ken say? I'm
Was
sorry.
Kid and Play calling people hoes and shit in their songs.
Oh.
That's what Kevin Powell's talking about. He's not talking about, partying is a problem. He's talking about like you denigrating black people, denigrating women, shitting on the LGBTQ community. That's what he's talking about. He's not talking about just the dancing. I don't think the Ringtone Era was. I didn't listen to it like that though. So you would know way better.
I didn't. I was playing the radio. It's not like
Yeah.
I didn't like it either per se. You know what I'm saying?
But I don't know what they were talking about. I didn't listen to it.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah, there was a point. He said there is the party side,
Right.
and then there's the other side. But the issue is the negative side that's completely detrimental to what hip hop started out helping. Now it's not doing that at all. And it's we didn't even really get into what he was saying about the woman as well, and even how they have to do certain things in order to be successful. And like even what he was talking about with MC Light and how they scheduled her at the beginning when nobody was. It's like what.
Yeah.
So yeah,
talking about the Hip Hop 50 show. Yeah. Yep.
it was like nobody's here.
Yeah.
That's a hard point to make. I think he did it well, but that's a really hard point to make without coming off like you're trying to control women and tell them what they're supposed to do. I still felt his point though. He specifically said he's like, I'm all for female sexual empowerment, but when that becomes all that the industry is pushing, you have to start thinking about why.
Yep.
I think that what was so good about this article is he's really asking hard questions. Like hard questions that are very easy to dismiss unless you really think about it. If you pull your emotions from it and stop being defensive and you really think about what he's saying, there's a lot of really good questions in this article.
Well, I guess that was one of my questions. Like, who is this article for?
Us.
Who is us?
All of us.
But
Anybody
don't we
that's-
already have these questions? Don't we already have these concerns? Haven't we already said these things? So I think like reading this article, I'm like, okay, this is a really good article, but who is this for? I don't understand how it's for us when we already kind of understand these things and we already kind of question.
I don't mean us 5 people. I just mean people that support rap music, people that support hip hop. Because we come in here all the time. Oh yeah, when you talk about I shot that nigga in the face 4 times, motherfucker didn't get up. That's a hard bar. It's us. It's us. We are saying that shit is great and that shit is dope and that shit's hard. Even if certain people have these issues, I think it's a good thing to repeatedly bring up those issues if it's not changing.
Okay.
Like, yeah, we've said it, but hip hop is not changing. So let this guy say it. And then a couple years later, if hip hop's still not changing, okay, let's get this other guy to say the shit. I don't think it's a problem with repeatedly bringing these things up if they're not being properly addressed.
So I guess like what's with articles like this and it's for us, like the general us, like you're saying, is he calling out for a revolution?
I think he's just calling out for not necessarily accountability, but he's just trying to point out that hip hop is not in the same place it was before. And black people are under attack just as much as we were 50 years ago, right? So why isn't the music reflecting that?
I think the average listener of hip hop they understand that a certain thing is getting pushed on the radio, right?
No.
No, there's a generation. No, there's a generation of folks that are old enough to drive now that don't understand where hip hop used to be
And don't care.
And you know, at least for us growing up, we saw the balance, right? Like, I haven't used that word in a very long time, but like, I still feel that way. Like, there's not enough balance, especially when you go to the radio. Like, if you turn on the radio, you feel that this is what hip hop is by itself.
Exactly.
Where, you know, that's the reason why the dead end hip hops of the world exist, because we try to provide a little bit, like, hey, look, there's this dope thing over here, and there's this and there's that. But as a whole, hip hop doesn't promote balance. There aren't new up and coming artists that have that balance.
Industry doesn't promote balance.
The industry doesn't promote balance.
Hip hop as a culture does, I think, promote balance, but I don't think the industry promotes balance at all. And again, I mean, this goes all the way back to that. Remember the article where the guy was talking about the secret meeting?
Secret meeting?
It goes all the way back to that. This is a
that
repeat,
timeline the
but
same.
nothing's changing.
Yeah.
So it's like we need new people to keep talking about this.
So
Especially,
that, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Okay, we need new people to talk about it.
that's what I said a little while ago.
I didn't hear it that way for some reason. I don't know why. So when you say we need new people to talk about it, you talking about people like us?
I'm talking about anybody. Anybody. Like, especially,
All of
but
us.
especially when you have someone that has a voice, someone that is as eloquent as Kevin, or that some of us can be. I think that you just constantly need people to keep reiterating these topics. What did I say wrong?
No.
Some of us. I'm just playing.
That's not what I meant.
Some of us.
Some of y'all stupid. Some of y'all motherfuckers can't talk. That's not what I meant.
Just write it down. Tell me what you want me to say. There was something that stood out, and he kind of put this out here. It was like, the question right now we should all be asking ourselves about hip hop is pretty basic. What other people anywhere on this earth are allowed, encouraged under the guise of being legit, real, to call themselves the rough equivalent of the N-word or the B-word, watch it be recorded, mixed, mastered, and spread everywhere like COVID for the entire world to digest?
Okay.
So if you go back to the letter, and you go back to the industry and all this self-deprecating music that's out there that's pushing these self-hating ideas and denigrating all the women, it was like, you have to ask yourself, why and what other you have to really open your eyes, man. The third eye got to get open, brother.
We are all aware of that, right? Here on the stage, correct?
Yeah.
Right. So we are all here aware of that. So you're saying that there's a subset of people that aren't aware of that, correct?
Yes. A huge subset.
Yeah,
So you take an article like this. Is this article reaching those subset of people?
No.
So
but
that's-
it should.
Right. How?
I think that people that have a large-ish following should be talking about these things. Because again, I don't think that he's saying that it should only be one thing and it should not be any of this.
Yeah.
He's just saying that there should be more of a balance, which right now we don't. When you're talking about the whole, self-deprecating side of hip hop, I think the point that's being made is that's the part that's being promoted harder than anything else. Why is that? And we are really the only ones doing this. Right? Like, and I hate to say it like that, but it is what it is. You don't necessarily have that with other genres. But with ours, it's the most popular culture, at least right now it still is. Everyone's consuming it, but the majority of what's being consumed is the shit that's self-deprecating. Why is that? I think it's a valid question.
It is.
I think it's a question that's not you're bad, and you're wrong for doing what you're doing. It's just a matter of, why is this being promoted by the masses, but this other stuff isn't? The stuff that's actually going to empower you, make you want to do real social change, why is that not being promoted?
It's a form of, it's almost like brainwashing, brother. Like, damn,
right.
you just wanna,
They call Tyrone.
He's not saying anything new in this article.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's even the point. I don't think he has to say anything new. I think he just sounds like an impassioned hip hop fan that's just tired, and he wants these questions to be asked and eventually answered. And if he doesn't get the questions answered, then in 5 more years, we have somebody else that's 50. That's like, yo, this shit didn't get answered. Let's bring this shit up again.
Yeah.
I guess I'm at the point now where, how do we take action? Like, how do we get this to the youth? How do we get this, what we already know here on the stage, to the youth?
I mean,
we are
retweet
taking
it,
action.
make a video on it. I mean, you never know. Like some young kid might run across this and be like, "Oh, wow, I never knew this," or "I never thought about it this way." I mean, that's how we got put on this stuff when we were younger, right?
Yeah.
It took someone that was a little bit older than us to just throw the idea out there, and you might hear it just peripherally or whatever. And then you're like, "Oh, wait, I want to hear more of this. I didn't know about
I
this."
didn't think about it. Yeah.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
And Rod, everybody's role in it is different. Like our role in the grand scheme of hip hop is to shed light onto articles and stuff like this because
for sure.
our demographic is younger than the people that are on the stage. So, hopefully that people that are watching, they now share that article with somebody that's younger than them. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
exactly.
So we're doing our part. Like I don't have, and I don't think any one person could come up with the answer for every part of the industry and how it should work. But there are questions out there, and like you said, how many people are taking action on it?
How do you take action on these things? How do you not do you not cover certain things so it's not as popular? Like do we push for that thing? Do we you know what I'm saying? Like what is the actual action? Sure, we can highlight an interview and hope you sees it and hope they understand what we're saying, things that they may have.
I was gonna say one of our action items is what's in your rotation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's it. You don't think so? That's not putting
No,
on.
It's not
Why?
direct
Because
enough.
we still sharing ratchet ass shit.
Yeah, it's not
direct,
and it's not direct enough.
I don't think the whole point of this is to put ourselves on the pedestal anyway. All of this, like, dead end hip hop is doing what what everybody else should be doing. We doing the work. Nah, we're
ain't
not
nobody
really.
saying that.
But I
Ain't nobody
mean,
saying
kind of. We're in the rotation. That's not doing shit.
No, what I'm saying is that like you talked about people with a somewhat big-ish platform being able to talk about certain things and spreading the word. Now,
We're not doing that really especially when in the
And
rotation.
I guess with me too, like, and I was gonna say, I don't know how much impact we have because they already look at us like we old. You know what I'm
we
saying?
are.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. It's just like
They
more
looking
old
at
niggas
us
talking
like we
about
are.
how the era is
It's not like we
the
old.
truth.
right. But that's my point.
I feel you.
That's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
point, y'all. Like,
But we
it's-
can't give
yeah.
up just because of that.
I'm not saying give up. I'm not saying give up. Like, we could keep talking about it, and they can keep calling us old or whatever the case is. But I'm just trying to figure out, like, does it take like the Sean C's of the world to talk about the article?
Yes.
Like somebody's like younger than us to
Yes. Of
to actually talk about it. Because that's where I'm at with it. You know what I'm saying? The article's great, and it's definitely another. Well, not another, but an extra thing that we could tap into or look at and reflect on where we are today, where we were and where we are today.
But it might even take, people our age that have a little bit of power in the industry. Maybe he's talking to them too. Because there are people like us that, well, not like us, but
get what
our
you're saying.
age that are
Yeah.
in the industry that are working to promote, that are working to put out records, that are working to say, oh, this is what you should be listening to. He could be talking to them too. It might not just be older or younger people. It could be older folks too, because we have a little bit of power in this because,
Yeah, yeah.
The older folks have been around the longest. They know how the business works. Younger folks come around, all they want to do is make music.
Yep.
They might need older folks to kind of guide them and say, okay, well, yeah, it's cool to make this party shit, but why don't you throw a little bit of this in there too?
Oh, geez, bro.
We said that to Clear Forces. I don't know if y'all remember that. We had mentioned that to Clear Forces, and that's they started talking about political shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I definitely.
Again, when I was younger, I didn't know any of this shit. It took somebody older to sit me down and be like, all right, look, this is what's going on. Okay, cool. Well, how can I find out more about this? And it's even easier now, so there's no excuse. I had to go to the fucking library. You ain't got to do that now.
Yeah.
You got a phone, you got a whole library right here.
Pretty much. Got an
So yeah, we
encyclopedia
sound
phone.
old because we are old, but we sound old and we are old and we want to talk about this shit because we want younger people to do better, be better.
So re-answering your question now that, we had a little bit more discussion in regards to it, like who is this article designed for is all of hip hop. Young, old, in between, music exec, fucking podcaster, the person that just listens to the radio. Like this article is for anybody that partakes in hip hop culture.
Yep.
Yeah, it almost felt like it was the FBI board, bro.
Oh, he had
just
it.
going
He
at
had
him,
it
bro.
lined up.
If this was
Good
someone
shit.
from outside the culture, I'd be like, this is some bullshit.
Right,
But he
right.
clearly grew up with the culture and
Yeah.
loves it.
Clearly.
And this
Clearly.
culture changed him. When he says hip hop saved his life,
it
I think
literally
he's being
did.
literal.
Yes.
Yeah.
So of course he's gonna care about the future of it because if the future goes in this direction of just
Continues.
calling
It ain't-
niggas,
it ain't gonna be-
fucking hoes, shooting whatever, how much longer is it gonna last?
Right.
How much longer are we gonna last?
Yeah,
like, you know, if we look at hip hop as teachers,
there won't be any 50-year-olds
Nah.
later on down the line.
Yeah.
talking about,
Saying we need to-
what happened to
yeah.
hip hop? Remember?
Yep.
That's-
Yep.
that shit
Yep.
there was
gone,
35 articles written about what's happening in hip hop. Y'all
Yeah.
ignored it.
Yep.
Yep.
So it's just more about what Feefo's been saying for 13 years, more of this balance.
More balance.
So
More
yeah,
balance.
I think it's a dope article, and I hope everybody at least gives it a shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And don't view it as just some old man complaining. View it as a person that cares about a culture that should be caring about the people within the culture.
He gave a really interesting holistic approach
He
to
did.
what hip hop could have been,
Yeah.
but isn't, but
Right.
should be.
Right. Exactly.
Shout out to Kevin Powell. You guys already know, man. The second part of the conversation is the comment section. So y'all go crazy in the comment section, man. How do y'all feel? Read the article first, please. You know what I'm saying? Don't just go based off of everything that we've talked about. Read the article so that way you can have an informed opinion.
It's in the description.
Yeah, we'll put the link in the description. You know what I'm saying? So that way you can read it. But let's have a conversation in that comment section. We'll catch you next time. Peace.